Hi, Sally.
Okay. Hi.
It's so nice to finally get to catch up. We've been trying to do this for quite a while now.
We have been, I think, since last November or something.
Yeah, we
Life
were
gets in the
talking a little
way.
bit. What's that?
I said life gets in the way.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So we were talking a little bit before we started, like a little offline, and I was trying to remember the timeline of when we met and all of that. And I think it was, can you speak to this? You said it was in Teresa's group, Teresa
Yes.
Haig's group. So
Yes.
what
So
was
I
that?
knew about you through Teresa's group because you did a video, a presentation, branding and marketing as an artist, how it applied. And it was a part of that initial program of Teresa's called the Artist Initiative.
Mm-hmm.
So I started following you because I thought your unique blend of business and art was pretty cool. And then we talked with each other over social media.
Mm-hmm.
And then we
I love
finally
your
met.
work.
I know we tried to do coffee for about the same amount of time we've been trying to do this interview.
I know. I know. I feel like I was listening to a podcast recently that was talking about the quadrants of your life and like how you can't keep them all ramped up at the same time. And I thought that so applies to me because I've been feeling like my friendship quadrant is really low because I have to pour into like the kids and my work right now for like, just to sustain us. And anyway, so it just is like, it's kind of sad, but also I know that like these kinds of conversations are going to be things that like we can in like a couple years from now, we'll be able to get together and have coffee. So
Yeah, exactly.
hopefully before then, but
We'll just manage those quadrants.
yeah. Actually I think it was Matthew McConaughey that was talking about it. And it was interesting because I was thinking like it's so all of us can only do so much at a time. And I think sometimes when being on social media, we all feel like we have to perform or show up and be everything to everyone. It's just literally impossible. But anyway, that's a tangent. So I love your work. We met in Teresa's group. We were doing the 25 days of minis, which are you in it this year too?
Yes.
Me
yes.
too.
I'm working very hard at trying to figure out how to create the massive number of paintings and have them be quality and at the same time not be dominated by it. So I'm easily dominated by challenges of production.
Are you trying to you're trying to do the minis now?
Yes, I've already started.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd already started. I decided to do a very intuitive thing this year. And so what I think I have to just come at it a couple, 2-3 days at a time with a lot of intensity, and I get into it. I'm not creating a plan. I am, have some ideas, and I'm trying to go into a more abstract direction because I think it suits my style for minis, which is not my typical size that I work in.
Mm-hmm.
So
are there any of the pieces behind you the size of your minis, or are they a little bigger?
The one behind me are like the one that's in your collection. Those are not minis. They're 12 by 12s, but they're a part of the imaginary landscape series that I started last year. And then this one is a larger one. I've been working larger for the last 6 months or so.
Okay.
Floor, there's a bunch of.
Oh, I love those.
I just finished. Those are called Dordogne, like France, Dordogne Reimagined.
Ooh. So are these in the Chester County Studio Tour then?
Yes.
Okay.
God willing.
Which studio are you
Trying
going
to
to be
figure
in?
out the hanging system in the place that I'm going to be showing. And as you know, I'm not a Chester County resident, so I had to, and our studios are in Delco also, so I've had to find a place to show. anyway, we're going to figure that all out. But yes, all this is, I'm going to put as many big pieces as I can because I like the way it mixes. So I have everything from 6x6s to 24x24s.
Awesome. Those
Yeah.
are beautiful. Which studio are you in, Sally?
This studio is in Aston. It's called Aston Mills Arts. It used to be called Heron Crest.
Okay.
It was taken over by a new owner, new president about a year ago, a little over a year ago. We're in a mill building on Chester Creek.
Okay. I'll look it
in
up and
in
add
the
a link
town, the
to
section
this.
of Aston, which is south of Media. The mill complex is in what's called Aston Mills. It's a village. There's a church that was bought by a sculptor. There's a really an emerging arts group here. There's a recycled, repurposed elementary school that's going to be turned into studios. I'm assuming it's going to be like a little Bach, if you know Bach in Philadelphia. So it's a very exciting time for this neighborhood. We now have a brand new gallery in our complex here in where my studio is, and there are 30 artists now. So it's
Wow.
one of the things that I really wanted when I left school was and started my studio practice was to be in a community or be able to create a community of artists, because I thought working alone was really not a lot of fun. And my entire corporate career, very collaborative worker. So I'm not used to, kind of showing up, sitting at a desk all day or standing at an easel all day and not having any kind of interaction with people. So the community it's very exciting what's happening here.
I can really relate to that. I teeter on extrovert, and I feel like the studio practice can be isolating. I do love it. I love to be able to kind of be introspective and in process and like deep in process and be problem solving and all of that. But I love to be able to talk with other artists about that and how your thoughts and your practice changes over time. And it's nice to be able to break up the day with that. I don't have that right now, but I do have people local to me that I meet with intentionally, a couple times a month for that reason. So it's really good. So that kind of brings me up to what I wanted to chat with you about the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, because both of us have experience there and yours is more recent. So I just would love to hear about both like how it has influenced your work and also just like your practice going forward.
Well, a little bit of background first. I always wanted to be an artist, and I went to art school when I was 12 because on Saturdays, because my mother insisted I do something of a cultural nature, and I flunked piano. I had taken it for 4 years and I just could not play the piano. It was just impossible. What I could see and what I could hear and what was happening here, it just was not a good thing. But I loved it. And I was also mathematically inclined. So I say that because that's the way my career went, because I thought I couldn't really imagine making a good living as an artist. And I really wanted to, be successful in that way. So I had a whole corporate career of many, many years in technology, running businesses. It was all consumer products, mostly consumer products, technology. And it was so super fun. I loved it, but it wasn't art. So I decided somewhere along the line that because I just couldn't do everything. It was like your quadrant thing, it just flying everywhere, flying out Sunday night, flying back Friday night, being all over the world. It was just intense, and there was no time to do art and really like get into it and then have it go anywhere. So I decided I was going to go to school when I finished. Well, it turned out I moved to Philadelphia about 20 years ago for management consulting. That was career part 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered PAFA, and I discovered PAFA's certificate program, which I could do without having to deal with, again, with Bachelor of Arts, liberal arts credits. I had a, BA and an MBA, and then I didn't need that kind of degree.
Mhm.
And it was a perfect match because I really wanted to learn really classical realist techniques for producing art, because I thought a little bit of it about it like accounting for business. If you
Mhm.
don't know accounting and finance, it's very, very difficult to run a business. So I felt if you don't really know the underpinnings, the very classical aspects of art and how to produce it, then I just couldn't see how I was ever going to be able to, really kind of reach out beyond it and
Mhm.
to really grow myself as an artist. And I'm glad I did it. But I will say it was really a challenge in the beginning because I was in my 60s and I was with 18 and 19-year-olds. But very shortly it became an absolute blast because I thought I just could not get over these kids and how, I don't know, bright and fresh and young they were, and just like loved being around them. And, we had a lot of fun together. And I mean, I wasn't their best friend, of course, but they also didn't treat me like their grandmother, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
But I think that was something that gave me a real lift in terms of my spirit and personality, that I just realized that no matter how old you are, you really can have a, high energy, authentic, you know, I don't know, expressive, fully expressed life. And
I
so I got
actually,
that too out of my experience at school, mostly because of my of the kids. But
yeah.
it was, I loved the school. I just loved every minute of everything I did there.
So can I ask you something about that? I think that I feel that life experience is really kind of what enriches art in a way. Like the more life experience you have, the more feeling and the more kind of knowing and all of that. Like I feel like the work becomes more meaningful in a way. So do you feel that way? Like they coming back at your practice like way later? Does it feel like in a way it's richer because of that? Because of your life experience?
Well, I think so because, the way I relate to it is that I'm expressing myself.
Mhm.
It just happens to be coming now in painting because I had a focus on painting during, like all of us during COVID. If
Mhm.
you did any other kind of art that required any kind of a, formal studio environment like printmaking. I am a printmaker as well, but printmaking, I do work wood, and those facilities were closed down.
Okay.
So, but as a painter, it's hard to even imagine unless you're just doing I'm going to paint exactly what I see kind of technical thing, that your feelings and experiences wouldn't be. I mean, every single thing you see behind me is a function of that. And
Mhm.
I know that's true for a lot of artists that that I know and that I work with.
Yeah. I really feel that when I look at your work. My work is much more representational, I would say. And so it doesn't leave a lot to the imagination, maybe. And I think sometimes it does. Like I have some pieces that are more in the last couple of years that are more just kind of from my mind. And sometimes they still look representational, but they are completely painted from my heart and I'm not looking at anything. So, and even now when I paint something that is like realistic, I'm not copying anything. I'll often look at references and then I will kind of take the reference, but then also just sort of go with it because I've trained myself that way. But I really appreciate that about your work because I love when you can take something that you've seen and you can turn it into emotion through like the actual brushwork and it doesn't feel so representational. The one that I have that we were talking about, it has so much movement, and like almost it feels like, you can hear all kinds of things in the painting, almost like there's my daughter's at the window saying, "Hi, mom." Um, that like you can almost like hear the birds in the trees, and it's just like has so much movement and energy in the piece, and it's not because of anything other than like your brushwork and the color and the movement. So I love that about your work.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I will say that I'm very analytical. My whole career was, well, when you run a business, you have to be analytical, but very left-brained. And so a large part of my practice the last couple of years has been working on ways to move myself from the left to the right.
Mhm.
And it has not
Mhm.
been a simple process, but I've made a lot of progress there.
Oh, I wonder if that's like partially why I can relate to you. There's a lot of things that I love about your work, but I definitely have been intentional about that too. Different, but painting, just having an idea in my mind and just painting it. And it has really, I did it for a couple of years without really looking at anything. And then this year I'm coming back to my work, looking at references, but also painting from my mind. And it's like the work is like 20 times better because it's not so stiff, if that makes sense. It feels like it's just coming from me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you come at something from an intuitive perspective, at least in my experience, it's very freeing.
Yeah.
My work is very loose. I mean, when a painting is finished, I can't remember what it was that brought me there. So I know I'm one with the process of creating it, and
Mhm.
my mind is shut down.
Okay.
I'm not thinking about anything.
Mm.
I mean, sometimes I'll try to, let's put it this way. I've had taken experiences, thoughts or feelings, especially childhood experiences. And when I try to produce something that is a picture of that experience, it's not a good painting.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it looks like very contrived or stiff, or I don't know.
Mhm.
And it's not very much fun to paint either.
No, it's not fun. It's
Yeah.
not fun to create. This is what I realized that this year. I said, why
Okay,
am I
the
having so
the
much
whole
fun?
point in this
Yeah.
was not to agonize. The whole point in creating career in as an artist for me was to give me the freedom of expression, and for me to have a place that I love to come to, and just like, I don't know, let it rip, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
But the thing that really, I think, took me from left to right and gave me the ability to flip it back and forth, because sometimes you have to go left back to left. You have to look at the painting and say, what's not working about this thing?
The composition like is so
Right. And then I say,
mathematical.
okay, it's that. But then that's almost like the finishing touches after I've just painted, to see what's emerging there and what does it remind me of.
Mhm. I
And that's
love
the way
watching
most of
my
these things have come.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love watching my 4-year-old draw and paint right now because it's so intuitive. And sometimes I really try to tell her, like, just do whatever you want. Like, don't put expectations on yourself. But sometimes I just watch her get into the flow, and she has so much fun filling a space. And she's actually very good at the composition. And I think we all kind of are, but then we're not all good at composition, but I'm saying like we all have this intuition of what we should do or place on a page or whatever. And then at some point, something gets kind of gets in the way and tells us that something should look like this, or you should be that way, or and that's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just about painting, but in anything in life. And it's interesting to I don't know. I love that about your work. I feel that playfulness. And also you were talking about, I would love to hear about how your childhood has influenced your art practice and your landscapes particularly, but I feel like I can understand that when I hear you talking about it on Instagram, and I relate to that so much. So I'd love to hear about that.
Well, actually, the childhood thing started it's kind of a funny story. the last 2 years of school, we have studio practice and pretty much no courses. I had a couple, but basically you're in the studio. And critics, you have critics from the faculty. They come every month and they give you feedback on the work that you did for the prior month.
Mhm.
So I had a number of these kind of interchanges about what my work was about. And I don't know, it was very confounding to me because I was still painting what I saw and trying to abstract it and, playing around with different things. So I was a little bit troubled by this sort of philosophical conversation about what my work was about. However, I'm a coachable girl, so I decide I'm going to do some work, and start to make little, postage stamp size sketches of experiences. I go back to my childhood. I have a whole book full
Oh,
of
wow.
all
I would love to
experiences
see
and
that.
memories and different things. And then anytime I tried to produce something from those ideas, it was just didn't work. It wasn't satisfying, like we talked about earlier. It's kind of
Mhm.
so I realized that I was utilizing those experiences as subject matter. That's what I was trying to do.
Mhm.
Generate the experience,
Oh.
paint the picture of the peach tree that my dad cut down, right?
Mhm.
Paint the picture of or do the collage, mix it up about the yellow sundress that I made that won the blue ribbon. I mean, it's on and on and on of all these kinds of childhood experiences. But what happened was I kind of put them all together. I thought, you know what? I grew up in what was that time, rural Pennsylvania. All my little school friends many of them were dairy farmers' kids. It was Pennsylvania German country. It was plain, plain, plain. And there was that nobody was wealthy. There were so many things to do. We lived in the tiniest little house, 5 of us. So naturally the outdoors became our bigger house.
The
And
playground.
we were outdoors any time of whatever the weather, any time of year. And outdoors, and the experience of all of that as a kid is very fundamental and pretty much in who I am, because I love to be outdoors.
Mhm.
And I love to sail, I love to hike, I love, all these kind of things. Anyway, I take all this and I think, you know what? There's something about it's like your daughter and you're observing her doing art the way she does her art. And I thought that's exactly the way my childhood was. It was
Mhm.
all about learning. There were no limitations. There was no judgment really until all of a sudden you got to be a certain age where you actually were supposed to know something. And then it became a prism. So let's go back and
Take it all
I
back.
realized suddenly, God, this is a space. We're talking about a way of thinking that creates a space for me to create in.
Ah, I love that.
And so instead of subject matter, it suddenly became, if I could recreate those feelings of abandonment, I don't mean abandon, those feelings of, really authentic, full out expression, the love of discovery, solving problems, all those fun things. So I taught myself how to do that. And I don't paint unless I'm in that space. And then I let it go and I paint. And then something shows up. And usually, if I have specific ideas about, different experiences that I've brought to the surface as I'm getting ready to paint, sometimes it shows up in there. It's like yours is the creek, that creek, it was a creek. It was really a bed. It was dry. It hardly had it had no fish. It had no life. It had almost no water. It was like a drainage ditch. But to us, it was a creek.
Oh my goodness, Sally. This is it resonates so much. I have a collection releasing for the studio tour that's called It's About the Jungle. And it's about this place in the woods that my sister and I would go horseback riding to. And it was this whole journey to get there. And then we would get there and all the trees were really tightly together. Really, it just looks like somebody let a field overgrow. But to us, it was the jungle. And it was fascinating place. And it was wild and free and all these things. And so I hear exactly what you're saying. And I love that. When you're a kid and you're discovering things, and the thing is we can still have that discovery right now, in our own backyard. And that's exactly what
Absolutely.
I'm after too. And that's why I think I just love your work, because there is a, like, if you can get there when you're going to create in that sense of like wonder and appreciation and just enjoyment of the present moment, that's like where it's at, I think.
Well, yeah, and I think it's what's interesting is people that have bought my work almost universally say about that, about it, that it's that they find it work inspiring. They, when they're with it, they find some kind of freedom or new energy or a transformation of their space. If they're feeling like, you know, having a rotten day, I'm not saying they go and sit in front of the painting. I'm saying that the painting changes the mood.
Oh, it does. It does. It's in our
And
dining
I
room.
have
And
like artists. I have artists and small business people, writers. They put the work in the room that they're creating in.
Mhm,
And to me, that's like learning that.
mhm.
It's like, it's perfect. It's like exactly what I had in mind. And it's exactly what I'm thinking and feeling when I'm creating the work. So the fact that it actually delivers that on the collector end
Mhm.
is just, it's a bingo for me. There's nothing makes me happier.
There is one other thing that you said that I wanted to like swing back to because I don't want to forget. You were saying that you found this process that you could create in, and it was like you had to have these certain things at play. And if you can get there, then that's like the sweet spot for creating. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I'm just figuring that out like this year. And I feel like I've been at this art practice for a while. And I just think that there's something really to that that's so important for all artists.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to make it, because it's still a work in progress. Okay. Um, first of all, I have a foundational belief that what you think gives you your result.
Hmm.
So if I come to the studio and I'm thinking, you know, God, I just got to do this, you know, get this freaking thing done, whatever the
Yeah.
my version of being on it about the joy,
Yeah.
then you know, what I paint is just awful. So I've trained myself to be able to change the thinking, the mode of thinking, my mood. And the way I do that is one way is by thinking about these childhood kinds of things that we talked about,
Hmm.
because I can immediately generate in myself a feeling of freshness
Hmm.
and joy, and you know, like, I mean, just make it up. I mean, when you were a kid, like like you're staying with your sister, you're making things up.
Hmm.
You know, we're making up that we live on a big river and it's a dry bed.
Yeah, I love that.
Right. So, and then, you know, we make up games, and I mean, anyway, there's a whole world
Yeah.
about I love to make up stuff.
Hmm.
And when you don't have that much, you know, those days, it was like not like a huge amount of money or things. There were not a lot of things. My Crayola crayon box, I like wanted the 64 that had the pencil sharpener. My my parents were not wealthy people, and I got the 24, and I was crazy in love with the 24.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I'm off the subject now, but the way that I'd created is just to sort of um recreate the feelings, and I'm a big visualizer, so I create a visual impression of being there, doing it again with my friends. I can get very specific about it, and it begins to generate a new mood.
Yeah.
Now,
So
now I can just come in here and say, okay, let's get into let's discover wonder. Let's have a blast in here
yeah,
today.
yeah, that's how it is for
And
me
it
too.
brings that space. And if I can't get it, or if anytime when I'm creating that I can't generate it, I don't do that. I frame,
Ah,
I clean, I
that's so
do my
smart.
calendar, organize. I don't do any kind of important writing. I do strictly pedestrian stuff. And then
Yeah,
when it comes back.
I
So
think
that, and then I don't think, I'm serious, I don't think. I work with a color palette that I love, and I don't fool around with trying to like, that puts me into a think immediately. How do I get that exact color blue? I don't care about that.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be different for every artist, like how to get into that mode. But I love hearing about that for you. And also wanted to just share that I grew up around a ton of older farmers, and um kind of we didn't I mean, we had everything we needed, but we definitely didn't have a lot of toys. It was just like the world is your playground. And I still to this day feel like my compass is where like my inner compass, and like north, south, east, west is it's
Yeah.
in the backyard of my parents' house, and it's in that field. And I feel the world from that location as like the starting point, and it's because it was just my playground. And so I can really relate to that. And I now, like, for me, I have to, it's this like feeling of discovery, and there's a lot of other things that go into like what gets me in that mode. But I love hearing about what that is for you, and that you've like found that process, because I think it's really important. I was going through often when I created a few years ago, it would be like hard work for me. And I finally got to the point now where I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. Like, even in the messy middle, I'm like having a ton of fun, which I am so excited about. So I'm so bummed that I won't be able to get to see your work in the tour, because I'm in the tour. But I hope that it goes really well for you. What's the studio number that you're in? Do you know?
I'm in Studio 13 in Malvern. It's
Okay.
the Malvern Arts. It's located in the Baptist church. I think it's the Baptist church.
Okay.
It's right in the center of Malvern. There are 6 of us there.
Awesome. All right. Well,
I'm sorry, I won't see yours too.
yeah, we'll have to get together afterwards and talk through how it went.
I'm still on the lookout for one of your paintings. So I guess I'm gonna have to wait until December.
I'm trying to figure out what to do for the minis this year, but I'm not there yet. So I'm kind of envious of you that you're thinking about it, because I'm like,
Stop those beautiful landscapes, please, because I have my heart set on one of those.
well, I'll probably do landscapes again, but it's weird for me that well, it doesn't, it's just weird that I go back and forth, but every time around fall, I always feel like painting landscapes. So I'm sure I'm very seasonal when it comes to landscapes. So I'm sure it's going to come back. And I love doing botanicals around the spring and the summer. And it's just because, everything's in bloom and it's so fun to do. So yeah, I'm sure I will, but I'm so excited to be part of the minis again. That was one of the most fun things. I'm so glad to be part of that group with you and
I think
everyone
fun is the gating factor
else.
for sure.
All right, Sally. Well, is there anything else you want to share about anything that you're excited about that's coming up, or?
Well, let's see, May 2021 for the Chester County tour. That's exciting. And I have a couple solos coming up, which I'm very happy about. I'm gonna be
Awesome.
at, well, not until February, but because I decided to push it into next year. I'm gonna be at Newman University, which is an
Awesome.
exciting opportunity to hang everything in my inventory. It's a really large space, and I'll be there 2 months.
How
So
far
that's
away is
exciting.
that?
Well, it's actually right in our neighborhood.
Hmm.
You got to go up the hill from our mill complex. Newman is, I guess the address is actually Aston
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out. So that will,
campus.
I'll
And
come to
the
that
gallery
one.
space is quite large. So I'll send you an invitation to the opening. In the
Awesome.
meantime, we know Yellow Springs. I'm in Yellow Springs this year, so I'm excited about that too.
Oh, that's open now, right?
Yeah, that's opening the 29th. So the
Oh,
artist reception is this Sunday,
okay.
and it opens the 29th of April. It's open through the middle of May.
Wow. That's a
Uh,
good show. That's a great show to be involved with. All
Yeah,
right.
well,
Well,
I'm very excited about that. I mean, it's been a great year for me. I think I think I was at in the Wayne Art Center's annual regional
I didn't know.
curated exhibition, and stunned beyond, I can't, this is how surprised I was, so surprised, took first place in that.
What? That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm telling you, I mean, I was obviously honored beyond belief,
Did the
but
piece sell?
oh, it's so exciting. It took me a week to come down from this.
Well, you deserve to just celebrate that. That's awesome. Did the piece that won sell or no?
I'm not sure yet.
Oh, okay. I just want to see
I
it. I'm
don't
like,
know.
where
It's
is it?
still
Let's see
going.
it.
It's couple more weeks. I think
Well,
it's the
do you have a
29th.
picture?
I think it's about, it finishes just as Yellow Springs opens. So I think it's the 29th of April.
Oh,
the
you're
show
on fire.
It's a lovely show. There are 200 artists. It's a really nice mix of media and just beautifully curated. The woman that hung this show, I guess she's the program director, did an unbelievably great job of hanging all of this different art in a way that it feels so compatible, beautiful. It's like a composition in itself. It's really, really well done.
I'll have to check that out too. Well, congratulations. If you think of it, send me a photo of it so I can include it on the blog. So other people can see it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I have a business card that I made about 6 months ago with that image on it, interestingly enough.
Which image is it? Is it a landscape?
It's a landscape. Let's see. Can you see this?
Yes.
It's this one.
So fun. I love it.
It's called Picnic Spot at Seal Cove.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm definitely going to check that out. And I would like to see your work in Yellow Springs because that's not far from me at all. So I'll go check that out too. And then I can hopefully see you at your show.
Such a fun show.
Yeah.
And the ride out your way is so gorgeous at this time of year, any time of year. But I've been telling people, get in your car, go out there. If you haven't been to Chester County at this, this in the spring, you have got to go.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
So it'll be good time.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today, Sally.
You're welcome.
I look forward to getting together with you soon. Hopefully sooner than, I hope too many years don't go by.
Yeah, we'll have to work on the compartmentalizing part.
Yes. All right. I'll talk to you
Take care of
soon.
yourself.
Bye.